Today I'm going to share with you a recipe that is just really delicious, especially in the fall season or whenever you're wanting to celebrate. We are going to make the harvest coffee cake. Now, if you have my cookbook, it's on page 234, so hopefully you already have the Healthy Treasures cookbook and you can make notes as we go along. And we're going to just go ahead and enjoy making this. And remember, I have 3 ingredients that you have to have in a recipe for it to pass my test. So for it to pass the Bible diet test, the Annette Reader Biblical Nutritionist test, it has to have 3 ingredients in every recipe. So I want you to tell me, did we pass on this recipe? I'm Annette Reader, the Biblical Nutritionist, and I'm on mission to keep you on mission with our website, thebiblicalnutritionist.com, Facebook, The Biblical Nutritionist, the emails. You know, we want to stay engaged with you. We want to answer the questions that are important to you, so let us know down below. And we just want to make sure that you are experiencing the grace of God, the health of God, and just all of His goodness, because He loves you, He cares for you, and He has a purpose for you. Okay, so let's get started. It's the harvest coffee cake. It's going to start with, actually what we're going to do is just go ahead and sprinkle the cranberries in the bottom of our 9x13 pan. A few of them kind of get clumped up here. So as I said, we're doing the harvest coffee cake. And then we're going to go ahead and add our apples. Now, it says 1 cup, and if you saw how much was in here, it was actually a little bit more than a cup. And you know, the more, the better. Now remember, I'm going to come back to what are the 3 important ingredients every recipe must have to pass the test. All right, so we're going to check. I'm going to see if you're paying attention. To that, we're going to sprinkle on some sucanut, and this is where, you know, these recipes are recipes that came out of our Healthy Living Treasures of Healthy Living cooking class. People have taken some of the traditional family recipes and made them healthier. And so this one just has a little bit too much sweetener, more than we actually need. So you could always cut back in this area. Okay, so it says to sprinkle the cranberries and the apples and then also the nuts. Now, I have out here on the counter my Nutrimil Artiste. I have it out here for a reason, because do you ever just not like chopping nuts? Yeah, I don't. And it costs more to buy nuts already chopped. So what we have done is we just chop them here in this slicer shredder, or if you have a food processor. But sometimes food processors make them too small. They almost become a meal versus just being chopped up. So I just wanted you to know this is how we're now chopping our nuts, and it saves us a lot of time. Okay, so let's look again at our recipe. So it says to sprinkle that into the pan, and then we're good to go. So in the meantime, we're going to go ahead and cream together our butter. We have 3/4 cup of butter. We're going to put that in there. To that, we're going to be adding our eggs and our vanilla and also our sucanut. So once again, we've got a second dose of sucanut, which is why you could easily cut back. And you could use stevia and you could use monk fruit very well. And right now, instead of doing this by hand, you could easily mix this up in a mixer and you'd be done in no time flat. But today I decided to do it the long, hard way. Plus, okay, so what are the 3 ingredients that you have to pass my test? You've got to have fiber. So far, we have cranberries, we have apples, and we have nuts. So we have some fiber. We're going to be adding some more fiber here in just a little bit. Okay, now I already have the flour, the baking, I got the flour, the baking powder, and the salt already mixed together in this bowl. So I'm just going to add this in. Now, the flour is where we're going to get even more protein and fiber, because these are grains of wheat that we have milled ourselves. And if you aren't sure how to mill flour, I've got a link to that video right over there. You can catch that video there, because that is so important to gaining your health, is to not let other people touch your food. And when you buy processed flour, you are letting other people touch your food. Now, this recipe could easily be done gluten-free, and that's why I have this Bob's Red Mill all-purpose baking flour. You could easily just use this instead of the flour that I made instead, and then you can swap that out and you have a gluten-free recipe. So I want to make sure you saw that. I'll put a link to that down below as well so that you can enjoy that. Okay, so basically this is all we needed to do. I have a few other ingredients. If I wanted to add in some pumpkin or maybe even some apple butter, that would make this taste even better. Okay, in fact, I could have used the apple butter instead of the sucanat and I would have had a healthier sweetener. Okay, so what we're going to do is just drop this by spoonfuls on top of our cranberries, apples, and nuts. And you're almost kind of making a cobbler with this. But today, we're calling it a coffee cake. And this is a coffee cake that years ago, women would have had ladies over to their house, and they would have discussed their marriages and their kids. But today, I'd like you to invite people over to discuss what God is doing in your life. Because around the table is where the gospel is going to be shared. It's not about inviting people to church anymore and letting the pastor do the work. It's now what we need to be doing around our table. So I just want to challenge you to make this recipe and invite people to your home to enjoy it. And it doesn't really want to spread too much, so I'm hoping that when it bakes, it will spread out a little bit better when it bakes. I should have dropped that by smaller spoonfuls, but you know what? That's the joy of cooking, is making a mess and enjoying the benefits. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and bake that. We're going to bake it at 350. It's going to take about 35 minutes to bake, and it will spread out. Actually, once it starts baking a little bit, I'll spread it out just a little bit more in the very beginning. Okay. So this can be the Harvest coffee cake. You can make it gluten-free. You can make it regular. It's going to be delicious either way. Let me just tell you one thing. You can actually mix all these ingredients together, and I did that and baked it, and it turned out really delicious. So this is a good sample right here. I just want to know how you like this recipe, how much your family enjoys it. Make notes in your cookbook so you can always remember the good things that you can add. And definitely give me a thumbs up if you like it, and let me know how your family liked it. Annette Reeder, the Biblical Nutritionist. Remember, I'm on mission to keep you on mission. Thank you for joining me in my kitchen. Until next time.